to Heathen's garage, folks. This is the scrap Dakota. It's officially time to get it out of the shed. It's been here too long. So back in about 1987, 1986, my dad went down to the Dodge dealership and he bought a brand new Dodge Dakota. He drove for a lot of years. He used it as his plumbing truck. And when old brother Steve got old enough to drive, well, he bought the Dodge Dakota from Dad. He shortened the frame on it to make it a short box from a long box. He did the first V8 swap with an automatic behind it. Then the old girl sort of sat in the field for a few years, and then one day I decided I was going to do something with it. So we drug it out. I put another V8 in it with the factory NV 2500 5-speed. I drove it that way for quite a while. And then we got a little more serious and put a turbocharger on it and broke the transmission. Put a different transmission in it, broke the differential and put a different differential in it. Broke the transmission and put a different... It just sort of went like that. It's without question the fastest truck I've ever had. I know it went 760s handily in the 8th and I don't know, somewhere north of 115 miles an hour in the quarter, but I never got a clean pass. Then finally, after this old engine had, broke a number of differentials and transmissions, finally it turned a bearing, filled the filter up with brass, and it's time. That's all there is to it. It's time to make this thing run again. Now, this Dakota is powered by a small block Mopar of the LA variety. It's got a turbocharger from a Caterpillar C12, I think it was. It's a little bit large, but it spools it just fine. It's got no intercooler. It's got all EFI, same as what's on the Jeep. And it's bright green, courtesy of a paint job that yours truly did before my wedding, so that I could have it being driven by the wedding party, because that was important to me, that this truck was in the wedding party for some reason. Buddy Kyle drove it because he is a best man. Now, like, the dust on this thing is this thick, and the cats have, well, like, the cats have been in here, but that's better than the mice being in here, so I'll take it. It's got an 8 3/4 Chrysler differential out of a 1964 Plymouth. I think that's enough jibber jabber. I'm going to start trying to get this thing out of here. I'm going to go find an air pump and a couple of wheels that hopefully fit, and we'll go from there. We have arrived with the trusty DeSoto service truck. We got a tire, we got some air. We probably don't have enough tools, but maybe I'll put a wheel back on at least. So, a couple things to note here is it's been sitting for a while. That jack is well into the dirt. It's well, it's not quite how it's supposed to be. First of all, we need a jack under this thing. So we're just gonna slip this stand under. Okay. Down she goes. Onto the stage. Come on. Oh boy. We'll just let her down. I'm gonna have to go up and then I can go down. No, it just really doesn't want to let me down. Down. Ooh, I gotta find a pipe wrench or something. I'll be back. We did not find a pipe wrench. We found a slip joint pliers, but maybe that'll work. Come on now. Oh yeah, there we go. Okay. Get this out of the mud. wasn't very well secured. But this tire, it's off a trailer. It actually matches the one oddball that we put on the DeSoto, so that's ideal. Sure, it'll work. As you may have gathered, the big plan is to move this thing out because, well, this shed isn't watertight, it has no power, it has no insulation, it has no heat, and it's dark. So, she's got to go out. Also, it's got a dirt floor and that's less than pleasant to work on. It's not the worst, but, you know, like, it's not good. Alright. Got our little Ferguson backed in here. We're gonna hook a rope up to the old Dakota. We'll go collect my lovely wife. And we're gonna pull this thing out for the daylight. For the first time in about 4 years. I'll be good. Well, folks, I won't lie. After hauling it this far, or pulling it this far, I should say, I then sort of forgot about it for a week, and you know, it rained 15 times, and well, honestly, that was a blessing in disguise because it's basically clean now. We'll show you the interior now. Like, have a look. Hey, it's well, it's gray and blue because the truck's gray and blue. Well, it used to be. It's got 3-pedal model. You see, 3 pedals down there, and it's got the stick in the middle with the button on it. That's pretty good, right? Tachometer over there, and a vacuum gauge, which doesn't work probably. Hi, Luna. How are you? Where did you find water? Did you go find a pond somewhere? Yeah, the tire went flat again. It's mostly it's got a bunch of garbage back here. This is an NV2500. That's the first transmission we broke with it. And there's a 8 3/4 center section. We broke that too. It's got really nice weld wheels on the front, and well, you saw what I put on the back. They're what they are. Let's get the hood open. It's got no hood prop. Hang on. This is a two-handed operation, actually. Okay. Now it's just sort of a pretty mild 360. It's got heads my dad ported. It's got a little bit of a camshaft in it. It's got the old Holly Sniper EFI that I seem to get carried away with every time. And it's got a great big turbo from a Caterpillar C12 garbage truck. Well, I don't know, I guess it was a auto car or Peterbilt or something, but it had a C12, and that's the turbocharger it's got. The turbo is a T6 flange, and it's kind of overkill for this, but I never had trouble with it spooling, so, you know, it was sort of one of those the right price, won the prize, or, you know, it's on there because it was free, all right? That's why it's so large. It did work. Matter of fact, it worked arguably a little too well. Now, what we do know about this engine is that, well, it's broken. the big plan right now is we're going to put some air in the tires and we're going to toss a battery in it, and hopefully it will drive itself in on the starter. And if that doesn't work, then well, we'll deal with that when we get there. Now the battery's in. Here goes nothing, I guess. This post is in a bad spot. We'll just back it up. Yeah. Back in the barn. Right where we belong. Also, the temperature in here, it's beautiful. Like, not so much in the winter, but in the summer, it is just wonderful in here. It stays cool all summer long and all winter long. I'd also like to give a shout out to this battery and starter. They're gonna stay in the good pile. It's kind of interesting having this thing inside again. See, that's a set of homemade Caltrax bars. Like, that was huge in changing how this thing left. Like, suddenly this thing would leave, you know. It was really good for what it was. But then the same guy that did that, like, also I did other stuff that, you know, is maybe less impressive. Like every wire off the battery and not a fuse to be found except maybe one. It's basically like full-fledged arson ready to happen at any moment. Like accidental arson, not... The word that I'm looking for is not there. You know what I mean. This is the oil drain from the turbo, because I had the turbo mounted so high and I had the engine in place when I did it all. I couldn't see a reason why I couldn't just drain it back into the valve covers. So that's what I did. Then you look at stuff like this. Adjustable proportioning valve and a line lock. I bought those at the Real Summit store, like in Georgia maybe? I don't know, somewhere south close to Florida anyways. Like went to the Real Summit store, never been there before, and that was really cool. That's where those came from. This is what my father-in-law told me to do. To start a bump button, so when you're setting the valves, you can just bump, bump, bump. You know, you sit here, you adjust one, bump, bump, check the next one. Bump, bump, check the next one. And then I ended up with hydraulic lifters in it eventually, and that was totally unnecessary because I didn't have adjustable anything. But for a little while there, it was really handy. Now under here, there lies our MSD with the two-step and the coil. This piece, which I was particularly proud of, it's a fuel bucket thing. I don't know what you call it. It's got the electric pump in it. It's fed by the original mechanical pump in there. And then this takes the fuel and makes it high to pressure. High to pressure? That's how we're describing that. There's a regulator back here somewheres. And it was all nice and quiet. And it worked good, and it was supposed to be really safe for, you know, you'd always have fuel. It was kind of cool. I'll probably continue using it if it's still any good. I think it worked good. I think it was rated to like 600 or 800 horsepower, so that was lots. I expect it'll be lots this time too. Well, folks, that's enough reminiscing for now. I'll bring you back in if there's something interesting again, but for now, I think it's time to cue the music and start getting this thing apart and the engine out. Now, folks, I do apologize for the overly sentimental music, but the reality is this truck's, well, it's pretty sentimental to me. And I don't know if that's all because, you know, my dad bought it brand new and my brother had it, now I have it, and it's sort of been in the family for 35 years or so. I think it's really interesting when people talk about like flash rusting just because of humidity. Look at the inside of this exhaust. It was obviously not rusty when I parked it a few years ago, and now it's all gross inside. Humidity, I guess. Just before we pull the headers off, I'd like to show you another thing that was like a good idea but wrongly executed in retrospect. That's this right here. So that's like just a breather, pulls out, goes into the exhaust, right? Now that's a good idea because you get vacuum here at idle, and like it'll actually pull, and you just get rid of all your. It works like PCV, all right? This will nicely relieve the crankcase pressure. Now this one, I have a check valve on, and that works because that stops the back pressure from going into the engine. What would have been better though is to just put it on downstream of the turbocharger, and then it would work all the time. Because right now, as soon as this is under like boost or back pressure, like when there's back pressure on this side, it's not relieving crankcase pressure. So when you're actually on the throttle, it's not doing what it needs to do. So this should have been over there post turbo, but it was the right idea. I just sort of badly miscalculated on execution. Maybe it's because it's the fastest truck I've ever had. Maybe it's because the engine that I'm currently removing is actually the very first engine I ever rebuilt. Maybe it's because this truck has the first paint job I did that actually turned out, you know, kind of decent. Not perfect by any means, but very presentable. For those keeping track, it was 31 minutes to get the headers and all the hot piping off, which at least 15 of those minutes was me fighting with my own past mistakes. So, you know, realistically that should have been a little faster, but it is what I did. And you know what? The exhaust didn't leak, and that's mostly what I was worried about at the time. So, another thing that's sort of maybe worth noting, if you've never worked on a small block Dodge and you plan to, is if you're pulling off the header or exhaust manifold, the frontmost bolt and the backmost bolt go into water jackets. I very nearly forgot that when I was pulling them out. Happily, I dumped the coolant, and, well, most of it went in the pail, at least. I guess the next step is, got to get all the coolant hoses off, I got to get the wiring off, get the throttle body off, and then that'll sort of be accessories stripped. Oh, and distributor's got to come out, because, well, distributor's got to come out. That's all there is to it. Mostly what I'm trying to say is, I probably won't ever give this truck up. It's a lifer forever. So, if you don't like it, well, that's too bad, I guess. 33 minutes got us to where we are now. It's basically we're gonna pull the radiator and the fan out under the bell housing bolts and the motor mount, and she's ready to come back out, I think. Which all things considered, this is going real well indeed. Also, since we're here and I'm thinking about it, this right here, the lack of a gear, is why Mopars are better than Chevys. Because you can only screw this up one way. It's either right or it's 180 out. There's none of these multiple positions where it could be wrong, because this goes into the drive gear for the oil pump, which is riding off the cam. Unlike a Chev, which has a drive gear on this and a thing in the middle. It's just, that's lunacy. This is the way to do it right here. One thing, it can only be right or wrong. It can't be one spot out or two spots out or three spots out. Right or wrong. That's what I like about Mopars. This thing's ready to pull. We gotta lift it up on the bottom, gotta throw a hook on it, and we got two semi-loose bell housing bolts, and then it's up, forward, up, out. At least that's the big plan. We'll go to live action now in case something exciting happens. Don't worry. I know that was a lot of time lapse, even for me. So we'll just go back to, not time lapse. So since we're here, here's a question. This is a dual plane intake manifold. And I always wondered, ooh, that was loud. Are you, supposed to turbocharge with the dual plane intake manifold? Does it care? Would it rather single plane and everything sort of be, or does it matter? I would really like an opinion or three on that. Because I actually have no idea. I kind of was like, this was a very much, I built this with what I had. What I had was a dual plane. It's actually a factory 360 intake manifold, I believe. It might be a 340, but they're kind of the same. People will tell you they're different, but they won't be able to tell you what's different. And you can't see the number change on a dyno, so I think they're the same. Ooh, careful, Ethan. That was just about the grill. Oh yeah. That's the problem with some of these big jobs. This truck isn't quite tall enough for this to go underneath of the control arms. If I went to the sketchiest hole it would reach. But I don't like using the sketchiest hole. Let's see what happens. What is that draining? Oh, more coolant because I didn't pull this side block drain. Well, we're just going to lose some coolant. That's all there is to it. Too bad, so sad. Ooh. Stick our jack underneath the transmission there. I just remembered something. I've never pulled the engine with this transmission in. I pulled it with other transmissions in, but not this one. And this transmission is huge. Like, bell housing and structure wise. Like, I really had to smash on the old tunnel to make it fit. Now I'm not totally convinced that this engine is gonna... Oh, wouldn't that be a disappointment if I had to pop the transmission out first? Let's pull the 2 bolts and see what happens. Okay. We went ahead and just pulled that driver's side motor mount right off to make our life a little easier. And now we're ready to wiggle and jiggle. Now, my lovely wife just texted me, reminded me that supper's in about 20 minutes, so got a little bit of a time crunch right now. So I gotta get this out and out. I don't want to leave it the way that it is. Currently, the whole body of the truck is, you know, resting on the jack that is lifting on the transmission. So it's not quite where we like to leave things generally, but it is what it is today. Why are you so, like, stiff? I guess because you're still in the transmission. Eh? The transmission's pretty solid. Can I pry you forward? Sure I can. No sweat. Loose. Loosey-goosey now! Come on. You're really close. Come out. Out! There we go. Oh, the whole clutch has to clear. I forgot about that. Oh, no. That's not good. We're going to have a fitment issue. Maybe we can turn it sideways. I think that's how we got it out last time. Easy. Oh yeah, the clutch has got to clear the whole shaft. You're an idiot. You never pulled an engine out, Heathen? Down. Oh, not that far. Alright, up. Are we clear now? Maybe. We must be, eh? Because there's no chance the water pump's going to clear. Okay. Why do I not remember this being difficult? Probably because I didn't have a transmission. Oh yeah, she'll go. No sweat. I just need a third arm. Better check on that wiring harness. That would be sadness if we wrecked the wiring. Wow, that fucking rusty. How did that happen? Now, is everybody paying attention? So you remember to remind me when this goes back in that you put it in sideways and then turn it? I sure hope we get enough lift. Guess I can always pull the front wheels and drop it to the ground. I like pulling engines when you don't have to pull the hood. That's pretty good. I like that. Alright, now, gently. Gently. A little higher. Easy, easy. How about that, eh? The old small block Mopar is out. And all before dinner time. Kind of stopped paying attention to how long it was taking, but we're around, I don't know, 2.5, 3 hours, something like that. I think it'd be fair to say, given, go walk the dog breaks and that kind of thing. Anyways, that'll be it for this episode of Heathen's Garage. Next time, we're tearing the engine down and seeing what went wrong. Thanks for watching. We'll see you next time. Bye.